Hello and welcome to Little Workroom Crafts number 2 of the beginners, or starting from scratch patchwork and quilting tutorials. My name is Davina and it's a beautiful day today, I will say, here on the southeast coast of the UK. Very hot, just why I've tried to do this as early as I can in the morning so it don't get too hot in here. I have my ironing board all set up here, my iron, and remember we use a dry iron. Hopefully you've all practiced your squares. Now I do have something to say, is as you remember last week I said that my rotary cutter blade had a nick in it. Oh, I tried cutting out some squares and it drove me up the wall. The nick has got worse and so on. So anyway, I unfortunately have had to use pre-cuts. But can't help it. They are 5-inch squares and they're called charm packs. You get a lot of pre-cuts. That's just, I've actually said, just in case you wonder why I've got a pinking edge while I'm sewing, and that's basically how they do the pre-cuts. I would have cut my own, but as I say, I have got a real bad nick in my rotary cutter, and I was swearing a bit and it was just taking so long, and I thought, well, I'll use some pre-cuts. Okay, I have my machine all set up with the grey thread, the mid-grey, like I said. I do have my Metler one, but as I say, you can also use the Gutermann, but I do like my Metler thread. It has to be 100% cotton because we are using cotton fabrics. These are craft cotton fabrics. Okay, and basically, I will tilt you down, try and set you up the best I can so you can see. And yeah, let's start sewing. Okay, righty ho. As I said last week, we have got a size 80/12 universal needle in our machines, which I have just put in, and we also need, or you can go without, but I'll explain that in a moment, a 1/4-inch quilt piecing foot. Okay, so this is how, because this one on my machine is a bit more different because I've got my semi-industrial out. But if like I had my other Juki or my Janome out, you normally get a 1/4-inch foot. Let's go, hang on, let me get this, and it's easier for me to show to you. This bar here, which is so they call this a 1/4-inch foot with a guide. Now I've always used one with a guide. You can get one without a guide, but I would definitely suggest getting one with a guide. So then you see, you butt your fabric up to there, and then from this guide here to the piece here where your needle go down is exactly 1/4 inch away, and that is how we do our seams. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll get 2 of your squares. Oh, let's get these off. Right sides together and pin. Now when it comes to pins, yet again, these are the flower head pins. They're nice and long. So for piecing, we do actually like a longer pin. Okay, so let's pin this here. Ooh. So I always go from there to there, but you will notice, as I've said before, that I am left-handed, so it doesn't matter what way I pin, it always seems to be facing the wrong way anyway. So there we go. Right, so get that on top of there as accurate as you possibly can. My 1/4-inch foot has got a guide, so I'm buttoning that up against. I have a 2.5 stitch length on my machine. Oh, sorry, let me just, because I've had to move me foot control over so I could find out a place where I could redo me recording, put me camera. Okay, so as you will notice as well, we do not go forward and back like dressmakers. We don't go we don't do a start and stop, forward and back, sorry, and go across. We just go right across because every seam at the end here is going to be covered with another seam anyway, so we just don't do that. Okay then, so obviously I'm a great believer of don't sew over your pins, because you're more than likely to break the needle, and to break a needle you can actually do some damage to your machine sometimes. So now, say for instance there we go. Now stop there with the needle down. Now say for instance that we were going to do a lot of squares. So say if you've cut a few squares out. Now this is what we call piecing, okay? So you put the front, remember to pin, right sides together, nice and neatly. Now this actually do reduce the use of thread. Tuck that up against the needle and carry on. And you make like what we call a flag of of squares put together. Okay, after this one I will take it out and I will show you. Okay, so get my scissors. See, and now it's joined there, so you trim that off. Trim that off there. And then that's what we call piecing, and then you can put it together and so on and do that. Okay, so I am only going to be working with 3s. So if I put that along there, pop that in there. But as I say, if you are using more, you know, bigger rows of squares, then just carry on adding them on and just do the piecing like that, and then just add on the blocks that, you know, the pairs that you've made. You put them together into how many you want them to be. So let's take that out. And then after I've done this piece, I'm going to take you over to the iron to show you how we do the pressing. And I've already got a row put together. And I'll show you how it goes together. So I'll be back in a moment. Right, okay, before we actually do go over to the iron, I did say that I was going to explain how you can actually get 1/4 of an inch on your foot, on your machine, without actually having to go out and purchase a 1/4 inch foot. Because with some machines, like quilting machines, they are standard, but with just basics, they're not, unless you can get a good deal. Okay, so what and I don't really believe in people going out to buy stuff if they don't know they're going to like what we were, you know, what we're doing. So what you can do is on your plate, so let's tilt you down again. Right, okay, I reckon you should see here. No, a little bit further actually. That's better. Right, so on your plate, this is the plate, okay? So on your plate here, if you get some really low tack masking tape, measure from the needle here 1/4 of an inch away, okay, which is going to be here to here, right? And then lay on them on the 1/4 of an inch away from the needle, lay on top of one another, I'd say about 4 or 5 strips of low tack masking tape. And say make sure it is low tack, because you don't want to make your plate sticky at all. So low tack masking tape, and it's on top of one another, so you're actually going to get a little ridge, and then you can actually butt the fabric up against that, okay? And I actually learned that from a very well-known famous quilter that's over here in the UK, over the pond in Suffolk, which is Lynn Edwards. And she always used to say, or will still say, I'm assuming, that when you're first starting, you know, rather than laying out all the money, is to use the low tack masking tape. And I am a great believer in that. So yeah, you know, give it a go. But if just one more time, you know, your machine might actually have a 1/4 inch foot, you don't know. So I'll just show you what the 1/4 inch foot, hopefully it will be able to focus. Are you focusing or not? Not really, are you? But basically it's a foot with a guide. Now the one without the guide will have 2 pieces, and this one on this side, let me get my little stick, this side will actually have a piece, how do I explain it? Have a piece missing, and it was shaped, that's the word, shaped to go inwards, and that basically is your 1/4 of an inch from here. But as I say, you know, give it a go. If you haven't got one, give it a go with the masking tape so you can actually get started. Okay then, let's get over to the iron. Righty ho, okie dokie. Right, we're over at the iron. This is the piece that I have just done, okay, with you. So what we want to do is, remember, a dry iron, we set those seams. Always remember to set the seams. I always just do it like that because you do get a crisper edge. I'm sorry if you're wiggling, but I've had to put you on on my ironing board. I'm going to try the best I can. Right, so as you see, those seams are nicely set now. So what you do is you go like this, hold it up, I hope you can see, and then press it over to one side. Right, before I do the next one, let me show you. See, that's all pressed over to one side. Then move it over and then just go down like that and press it over to one side. Okay. Now I always flip it over just to make sure that I have got those seams. Give it a little tug, not too much because you don't want to distort anything. Okay, now you'll see, right, and this is the piece that I did earlier on. These seams, now the way you set it up is the top seams will press one way. This one I've just done, I have laid out so it presses, so they're gone that way. Okay, now there is a reason for this, because now you've got what we call a ditch. Okay, everything we do in patchwork and quilting prepares us for the next stage. So we have made a ditch, so it will be easier if you want to do stitch in the ditch when you're doing your quilting. But it's also easier now, as I say, because look, there's the seam there and there. These ones are going this way, so then you go right side to right side. Let me just get my pins. Right, okay, now lay them all on, and as you can see now, because we press the seams, let's see if I can lift it up a bit. Now you have got, so those two seams are locking in. Okay, now always put a pin in the middle. I will put one there, I will put one there, because you've got to try and reduce the movement the best you can. Put one there, okay, one in the middle again, lock those seams in, one in the middle. I always look through, because if you're coming out on the seam and then you go in on the seam, and then you know roughly that you'll be all right. Okay, so that is a roughly, because the amount of times that you do have to unpick them. But as I say, you know what I mean, I always say that quilters or patchworkers always become experts at unpicking. Okay, now some people are going to think, oh my gosh, all those pins, but trust me, you've got to try and reduce the movement. Okay, so we'll go back over to the machine, and then we will sew that seam there, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with the last seam. Okay, righty ho, back at the machine now. So you've got your piece of fabric underneath your foot. Yet again, do not go backwards and forwards. And there we go, we're off. Take that pin out and then try and go up to there. Don't sew over it. Now this is your middle one. What I always do is just take it out so the actual tip of the needle is not tip of the pin, sorry, is not underneath the foot in any way, but you're still holding that seam together here. Okay, and then go over until you hit that over that seam, and then I remove that pin. Okay, it's only the ones with the seams, all the rest I will take out before. Ooh, what's happened there? No, it's fine. Okay, so go across, remove. Now this is the one that's holding those two seams, so drag it back, go up a little bit further, drag it back until the actual tip of the pin is underneath here. Okay, but you're still in holding those seams. go across, hit that seam, and then when we actually undo this, we will pray that they've all stayed in place. Okay, right, let's have a quick look before we go back over to the iron. Oh no, that one's moved. Right, okay, this is really good actually. I'm glad this has happened. As you see here, this one is straight down there. That's locked in absolutely brilliant. Okay, this one I will say is about 1 millimetre or so out. So what I do is I get my quick unpick. Let me see if I can find you. There you are. I will unpick from there. You know, I know I've been quilting a lot of years, but we're only human. We all do it. You know, some people, yeah, fair enough, will let it go. You know, it's optional. So let's get that, undo a little bit of the stitches either way. Lock that in there again. I'm still, you can feel it, you can rub it together. That's it, I've got it now. Right, okay, fingers crossed, eh? Butt that back up there like that. Pull that down a bit. Pull it down a little bit more. And as I say, let's pray again, shall we? Let's see what happens. Yeah, I think I'm okay. I think I can live with that. It's gone in a little bit. It's not as sharp as that one there, but do you know what I mean? It's, if anybody complained about it, then wow, that's all I'm going to say to that. It is just, wow, just a fraction out. But as I say, I have been known, especially if I'm doing something as a present, to literally just keep unpicking until I get that movement right there. But you know what I mean? As I say, it is optional. Okay then, right. Now we're going to go back over to the iron and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, back a little later because I was fussy and I did have to get that seam right. That's just in my nature, unfortunately. Okay then, right. Lay the two pieces flat down and as we've said before, set those seams, okay? That nice long seam so you get a nice crisp edge. Now, say for instance, let's have a look at the way my fabrics are going. So it'll be this one. Okay, say for instance, if you've got a fabric that you want to be at the top or the bottom or whatever, okay, you've got to look because now this back seam faces down. I always go with it face down, okay? So these are going to be my top row because obviously this has got what they call a direction. So that would look a bit funny if it was upside down. So put it on like that. As I say, set those seams, push that over and put that there against that iron board and set that like that. Okay. Righty ho. So let's turn it over. See how neat it looks now at the back. And press the seam down, okay? So just remember that you'll have, where is my, here it is. You've got these seams going that way. That's the way I work. These seams going that way. The back seam, the long one, go down, okay? So that is basically piecing the top of your quilt on the machine. Now, you know, as I say, to start, I'm going to, if I do another row here, that's what they call the traditional 9 patch. So if you actually put another 3 underneath here, you've actually made a patchwork patch. Okay, and you can put them together randomly and so on. But what I would actually turn around and say to you is that put some rows of squares together, okay, and decide if you want to make a cushion or a table runner or something like that, and use the way that I've shown you how to do the seams all the way pressed down, and then let's lift you up. Hold on. Oh dear, gone a bit dark. There we are. And then oh, we've got a bit of a glare. Oh, we should be okay. And then next week, on next Monday, I will show you how we start layering up the pieces. So we're going to go back over to the machine and I'm going to explain some bits for you. Okay, so next week I'm going to do about the layering up, and then on week 4 we will do the actual machine quilting, okay, because I don't want to cram too much in one go. So for next week then, for the layering up, you're going to need a backing. Now because of the width of say, for instance, if you're going to do a quilt and you want it to be, it's a big bed quilt, then I always use cotton, 100% cotton sheeting. I know it's plain, but who's going to see the underneath of the quilt anyway, to be honest? It's laying on the bed. So, you know, and it is a damn sight more cheaper. So I always use the 100% cotton sheeting for my backings. For the waddings, I like the natural. You can go out and buy 100% polyester wadding and it's more puffy. As I say, the average is normally the 4 ounce, but I find it harder to quilt. When I first started, fair enough, I did make one with it, but I don't know, I just made a wall hanging and I've never done anything with it since. I prefer the cotton waddings. Now you can get bamboo, you can get bamboo mix. Normally you can get 100% cotton, which is very soft. You can get, which is this one, which is an 80-20, which is 80% cotton, 20% polyester, or you can now get the 70-30, which is all recycled. It is gorgeous, beautiful to quilt, hand or machine, because I actually did 2 test pieces on an episode before in my podcast. But I do like these. I know they're a lot thinner, but you've got the natural content of the cotton. So in my opinion, they're a lot warmer. They lay flatter, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful. I am one that I do love to search history, and I have looked into history of quilting, and everything would have been natural with them when they were doing it years ago. So, you know, these come in 2 widths normally, a 90-inch width and 124-inch width. So it will be folded up in half, so don't use it double. You have to open it up. And, you know, as I say, you can get a lot out of them. Even if you can get hold of a 1/2 meter of a 90-inch width, that's a lot of wadding for, you know, smaller pieces, because the normal polyester waddings normally only come a yard, like 36 inches in length anyway, you know. So if you can, try and get the cotton waddings. And as I say, the 70, let me think, I'll try and remember, I haven't got my paper with me. It's a 70-30, so it's 70% recycled cotton and 30% recycled polyester, and it actually is more softer than the 80-20. That's what I loved about it, and as I say, it was lovely to work with. So either or, go through either or of those and you'll be fine. And then after we've done the layering up next week, I am going to explain what feet you need. Don't get put off, this is a big beast, but gosh, it does the job. I'll explain the history of this because this was fascinating actually. And you'll also need a quilting needle, okay, but I will show those at the end of next week's, because next week I will get my piece finished, my top, my patchwork, and then I will explain to you step by step how we layer up, and if we're going to layer up for machine quilting or for hand quilting. I will show you both. Okay then, so I hope this has turned out okay. I've never quite done anything on the machine where I've had to angle everything, so let's hope it works. I don't know. Okay then, so have fun, try and get to the next stage for next week, and I'll be back then, but I'm also back this Wednesday for my normal podcast. So I'll see you soon. Take care, stay safe, keep positive, and happy crafting. Bye. Okay, I would like to quickly add at the end of this, if you do decide that you do want to invest into these feet, like the 1/4 inch, and later on I'm going to be showing you the walking foot, please, please, please do not fall down the trap of going online and thinking, oh, this is a unit, because there is people online that go universal 1/4 inch foot, blah, blah. There isn't. There is not a 1/4 inch universal, or a bobbin that's a universal, or a walking. None of them are universal. It all goes on the width for the dogs, because different dogs on the machine have different widths for different makes. Okay, the amount of people that will come into work and go, I've brought this as a universal online that won't fit, and I go, it won't fit. I know it won't fit. You have to buy for your make and model of your sewing machine. So please, please, please don't go down that rabbit hole. Make sure that you do actually get the right foot for the right machine. Thank you. Bye bye.